Oh, what a
Is that
day,
why you
what a
moved to
time.
California because of the In and Out?
Can I say something? Can I
Yeah,
be brave on the
it's
pod?
it's not that good, is it?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't get like. I don't really fuck with burgers, to be
right.
honest.
It's the
I don't get it.
exclusivity that is the appeal, you know? Like, it's not that it's so
Exclusivity,
good.
just on every street
Yeah,
corner in
but I'm saying,
California.
like, California, like, oh, this is our baby, it's only ours, you gotta come here to eat the In and Out. And
Sure,
it's
but I
like,
feel like it's only locals who love it. Is the
right,
thing. Like people
interesting.
who've lived there their entire lives are like, I got my fucking Ziploc bag of meat. Like, I don't. Whatever.
Welcome back to No
Like,
Sad Face, the toxically negative burger review podcast.
welcome to No Sad Face, the toxically positive Kingdom Hearts podcast. I'm your host, PJ from Cabletown, and I'm joined by my former second grade math tutor, regular Pat, who's also the co-host. Welcome. Thank you, Pat, for being here today.
So that's why you can't add single-digit numbers together without using your fingers.
It's been 2 days, which is a pretty quick turnaround time
Very
in terms
quick,
of
yeah.
recording for us. But just like a slight update, I believe the first episode now has over 4,000
It's true.
views on YouTube.
Yep.
500 on the audio.
Oh, really? I haven't
Yeah.
been paying attention to the Spotify stuff. I mean, I guess I can't see it because I'm not,
No, you
I'm not
can't
the
see
guy. But, you know.
It's not that big of. I mean, I've done a lot of podcast stuff in the past, and until very recently, it was always like, don't put them on YouTube, and no one cares about them. And now it's just like, if you don't have any video element,
No, that's the way to do it.
yeah. 700 subscribers, 4.3 on episode 1, 1.8 on episode 2.
Yeah. Again, it's something that we didn't promote. I'm very, very proud of us for that.
Yeah, good job us doing
Good job,
nothing.
us. Yeah. No, listen, we put in the work in January, and now we're reaping the benefits. I don't know if we mentioned last time that I think at least 2 people left reviews on episode 1, right? On Spotify?
Yeah, on Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so-
also can do it on Apple Podcast if you wish, if that's where
Yeah.
you're listening. That's fine.
Yeah, all 2 of you.
We're talking about Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, the Kingdom Hearts prequel that came out for the PlayStation Portable in January of 2010 in Japan and September in America, and I believe worldwide. Maybe there was like a month of a gap. I don't remember. I'm sorry, international people.
PJ cares about you just as much as Square Enix does. Yeah.
Birth by Sleep, man, what a game. What a
What a
journey.
game. It is.
What a game. I was really excited for it.
Me too.
When Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix came out in 2007 and the secret ending came, the second that those helmets were off, I was like, oh, these are my babies.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like,
must
these are my
protect them.
children.
Yeah. Well, you know, PJ, a lot of people thought they were the parents of some already established characters.
Stupid people thought that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you thought that and you're listening.
We
and
can
you're
say
like,
that.
"I was a
They were
kid."
stupid like 15, 16 years ago. It's fine.
You're right. Everybody has room to grow and to learn and to not think stupid things anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I will say my biggest issue with Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is usually, this is not in my rant, by the way, other people's takes on it.
Yeah, like you're ruining it for me.
I mean, it's just that for how
Wait,
do I
we
say this?
we gotta be nice. Not bad. It's not
I know.
meantime yet.
This is not going in my minute rant. So
Okay.
like this is just me talking about discourse in the
Yeah.
fandom.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Birth by Sleep, I think it's fair to say, was the most anticipated of the 3 handhelds when they were announced.
Absolutely. I always felt that like, okay, Days is the appetizer, but BBS is the entree.
Yeah. And I think Nomura feels the same way. That like there are main games, there are side games, but there are definitely games that are like they might be a handheld, but they should be considered on the main
Right.
line of the plot.
BBS
And Birth by Sleep is one of them.
It's Kingdom Hearts Zero, like in everything but name. That's what it is.
Yeah. And I'm really kind of surprised that he didn't just call it Kingdom Hearts Zero.
Honestly, like it kind of would have slapped. Like I wouldn't have hated it. It wouldn't have been the worst title in the series. So
Well, something that Nomura intentionally does is that he creates subtitles for the games that have acronyms that relate back to internet culture and programming. So, like Chain of Memories, COM, Birth by Sleep, BBS, Bulletin Board System, UX, DR.
Right.
Like, these are all like programming terms.
Mhm.
Like, and like people be like, oh, well, that's a coincidence. It's not.
It can't be a coincidence if it happens like 7 times. And also, go ahead.
But he also confirmed it in the Ultimania that the reason why
Yeah.
Birth by Sleep is called Birth by Sleep is because he wanted the initials to be BBS because of a bulletin board system, because he liked the idea of hearkening it to a system that connects people across the world, but not physically, which is like one of the themes of Birth by Sleep.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Which I thought was fun. That's cute. It's nice.
Can I just say, I know this is not in my rant either. Sometimes when I'm reading comments on videos that I've made, people are like, why do you say BBS? It's the same amount of syllables as Birth by Sleep. Don't pretend that BBS isn't easier to say. Right?
BBS, Birth by Sleep.
Birth by Sleep.
BBS,
But there's more mouth movement going on with a Birth by Sleep.
Yeah, well, it's those hard consonants. Like there's the R, there's the TH.
And it's just there for
like,
variety's sake. Leave me alone. I don't want to say the same thing over and over. I'm already a KH fan.
KH fan.
What's that thing you said that we all suffer from?
Echolalia.
Yeah, like repeating over and over the not funny thing that one person said.
Right, like repeating over and over the not funny thing.
The not funny thing that one person said.
The thing about Birth by Sleep is that, you know, people really anticipated it. It is technically the second game developed by the Square Enix Osaka team for Kingdom Hearts, but
because of Recom, right?
Yeah, but also kind of the first, because they started working on Birth by Sleep before Recom. Like they had that groundwork laid out. And originally, Birth by Sleep was going to be for the PlayStation 2. And then
I did not know that.
Yeah, they moved it to the PSP.
Interesting.
I think that if it had been released on the PlayStation 2, maybe some of the people that aren't as fond of it would have shut their mouth about it. But at the same time,
agree.
I don't know, but maybe it wouldn't have, because Osaka made like intentional choices with the gameplay and what they focused on. And I think that it gets a lot of hate for not being Kingdom Hearts 2.
As many things do. As I do as a human being.
Sure.
People come up to me on the street and they're like, why aren't you Kingdom Hearts 2, asshole? And then they like throw dirt in my face.
What are you doing outside?
That's a great point.
When are you ever outside?
In the rare moments.
But that discourse, like, you know, people had mixed opinions on Birth by Sleep when it came out. But the whole, like, it's floaty, we hate it, that horse shit didn't really start until it got coupled with Kingdom Hearts 2 and the 2.5 package, which I think
that's
actually,
the problem. When it exists on the same disc as games that were made under completely different circumstances and for different hardware. So like, yeah, it's not going, like, it's not made for that kind of hardware. Like, of course it's going to look, you know, somewhat inferior in some aspects, but in other aspects, I think it runs circles around KH2, which I'm sure we'll get to.
In a perfect world, you shouldn't have to take these games in context. Like, they just exist as they exist, and you should be able to form your opinions on it. But I think that given how odd the development of the series has been, and where these games started, and why they were created, and for who they were created, for me, it's really difficult. Like, I can't just parse that. Like, I can't separate the game from the context of when it came out and all of those other factors. And so, like, I am a pretty staunch defender of Birth by Sleep in a lot of ways, but at the same time, like, I'm not blind to it. Like, I think that the 2.5 original release on the PlayStation 3 is, like, borderline unplayable because the loading times every time you do anything. Like, a D-Link, a form change, and, you know, those happen all the time without your consent, and you just have to wait for it to load. That's horrible. Like, I feel them on that. That's awful.
Right, you cannot play Birth by Sleep without doing a form change. Like, I'm sure maybe it's been done, but it's probably agonizing because you have to, like, attack and then not attack so the gauge goes down.
It's horrible.
Because otherwise you're going to get thrown into that,
I was so glad when the PlayStation 4 version happened, and then, like, for me, good. We're good. We're back. We're solid. We are so back, bestie. But I'll also say that, like, people were also, like, weirdly hard on Birth by Sleep when it was released in English, because when that wait was killer. It was horrible. Again, January in Japan, September in America, and again the first day of school. Horrible, awful. Shoot myself.
That sucks.
Awful, just awful. But
I think I'd already started by then. But well, I didn't get it till Christmas of that year.
Well, you were still in high school. Or I guess middle school. Jesus,
I think I might have been in 8th grade.
Jesus. Yeah, well, I was in college, and it was, like a very long summer with no with no Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts.
Yeah.
But they released the English trailer for Birth by Sleep over the summer. Maybe it was in March. I don't know, but it was pretty early in the year. Like it was still a few months out from when it would release. And
Right.
the second they started talking, people were complaining about the voice acting. They were just Willa Holland and Jason Dohring just got trashed. And honestly, in the first trailer, people didn't like Leonard Nimoy, which is almost...
Wow, that's unthinkable nowadays, yeah.
Horrific now, but they were like, he sounds like he has to cough. Like people were just horrible. People were just awful about it. Yeah. And I think that, like, the voice acting is pretty inconsistent in Birth by Sleep, to be honest.
I agree. Like, I mean, I've grown accustomed to Tara and Aqua's voices, but, like, I think there's still a bit of a disparity between them and Jesse McCartney as Ven and Roxas.
Sure. But I also think that, like, that was their first time doing a Kingdom Hearts. Yeah. And they grew, like, tremendously.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think that Willa's performances in every other game have been perfect. And, Jason hasn't had a lot of time with Tara, but in 3, I think he really, really improved.
People are going to leave a comment unless I say right now about Aqua's, he opened Kingdom Hearts. So I just have to say that so that I get out ahead of that, because that's a brutal line, IMO.
Echolalia.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, fair enough.
He opened Kingdom Hearts. And, like, how are you supposed to say that? Because she also has to match the Japanese intonation. Like,
I know.
That's what they wanted.
Yeah,
that's what they wanted.
I always come down on, like, okay, it's not really the voice actor or actress's fault. It's like whoever's directing them to say it that way.
Yeah, and it's never just one person either. It's like Bob Buckholtz in the studio, and then 3 people in Japan,
right,
over Zoom or whatever. And half of them don't speak English, and then the other half don't speak Japanese. And so there's, like, a weird kind of Frankenstein fusion. The fact that we get any good moments in Kingdom Hearts from the
it's amazing.
Is amazing.
It is a miracle.
Because the game took so long to come out, like, by the time it did come out, I was spoiled on everything.
I avoided it like the plague, but, it was easier for me because I just, like, straight up didn't know about, like, certain methods of getting information. Sure. Like, it was basically just, like, stay off of GameFAQs. At least in that corner of the boards, and just don't explicitly search for it on YouTube. Like, I wasn't on Cage Twitter and scrolling absentmindedly and getting spoiled. So,
well, even if you were passive, like, the trailers spoiled everything.
Yeah, I mean, I did a project maybe 2 years ago at this point where I took a look at the KH3 trailers and how people were always like, oh, these trailers gave away so much. But I think we even referenced this in the first episode of this podcast. Yeah. They've always been doing that. They've always been giving away too much.
I think Birth by Sleep is probably the most egregious out of all of the games in terms of what was spoiled in the marketing.
I'd probably, personally, I would say second to KH3, but yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, but I think in Birth by Sleep, like, everything is spoiled. Vin in Castle Oblivion, his heart going to Sora, Aqua in the Dark Realm. Yeah. I don't remember if Terranort got spoiled, but, like, people already knew that was coming from a mile away. Vanitas' face, the blank points monologue, like, everything was spoiled in the Birth.
Well, the thing is, like, it's kind of an interesting dilemma because the premise of the game is like a spoiler, because like the premise is, okay, let's see how this all leads up to the KH2 secret ending, so it's kind of unique in that way, in that, like, we know where this is heading to a large extent. It's just about, like, the journey, whether or not that gets spoiled.
The second the Birth by Sleep trailer, the secret ending and final mix happened, people had already basically worked out the plot. Like, when they saw Tara's eyes turn yellow and they saw Vin's face, and when they found out, thanks to the lingering will fight, that Vin's name is Vin and not Roxas, everybody had already figured it out. People were like, oh, Vin's heart went into Sora, that's why Roxas looks the way he does, and he's in Castle Oblivion, and Xehanort possessed Tara, obviously, because he's already a body snatcher, and that's why he looks so young, and that's why this is a thing. And the real oddball out on that one was Aqua, but something horrible happened to her. So
yeah.
And then we'll get there. But having said that, sometimes I think it's better if we have an idea of what's happening and that becomes validated rather than just random ass pulls. Like, there is this thing in culture right now with online media where people guess the twist ahead of time because, you know, everybody's talking about it. And the writers see that and they go, oh no, they figured it out. We have to pivot. And so everything was leading. Yeah, just stick with your original plan. Like,
it'll still be satisfying.
Like, let people feel good about that.
Right. It's fun. I think that's why Song of Ice and Fire is never going to finish, because someone or multiple people guessed, you know, how that all goes.
Poor George R. R. Martin. I can't imagine. He's like, he's at this point, I'm sure he's just like, man, I thought I'd be dead by now. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, huh?
I thought I'd die before they ruined the show, and now I have to put up with this. Shit.
Fuck. Do you ever worry that sometimes Tetsuya Nomura, what happens when he retires? Like, does the series live on? Does it turn into something else? Are they just going to be done with it? Do they know?
I just think, in terms of retirement, like, Nomura strikes me as a guy that if I'm not doing it, no one is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean he really even has... I mean, I don't know. Does he? Does he have full control over what? I mean, Disney owns like the IP, right?
Disney owns the IP.
So if they're like, we want more, then they're making more.
You know what? People have been the number 2 criticism I see about the show is that it's not long enough. So we're gonna meander.
There you go.
we're gonna meander because this is a perfect time to talk about it.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts and Tetsuya Nomura have a weird sort of relationship with Disney.
Yeah.
Normally speaking, Disney owns what it owns, and it does what it does with very little regard as to the outside players. There are plenty of things that have been worked on within Disney where they do defer to, like, you know, if there's a Star Wars, there's a franchise, you know, owner about that sort of thing. Like, you know, George Lucas is still kind of around, but like the Kathleen Kennedy of it all. Maybe this is the wrong comparison, but for other Disney movies, like if the original teams are still around, like, you know, people will defer to those original creative teams, but they don't control it, right? Like there is a sense of like culture there in that regard, but still, especially for the older projects, like, you know, Disney owns what it owns, and, you know, it does what it wants, and those wants change all the time. With Kingdom Hearts, Disney does own it. They own the original IP. They own all of the original characters, the original plot things. Right. Anything that Square didn't create before Kingdom Hearts, that is in Kingdom Hearts, is owned by Disney. However, Disney is very reticent, hesitant, and avoidant to use Kingdom Hearts at all without the express permission of Tetsuya Nomura. I mean, like, there's some merchandising things where they don't really get Square as involved, although I do believe Square has like majority rights in terms of merchandising. But still, they can do what they want in that aspect. But anytime that there's ever been like a flagship kind of project for Disney and they think, oh, you know, we can involve Kingdom Hearts, or maybe we'll do a Kingdom Hearts version of this or whatever, they shut it down. It never gets very far because they're afraid of Nomura. And
he's so powerful.
Anecdotally, so like, I actually have evidence of this.
Right.
So a great example of this is the TV show, the Kingdom Hearts TV show, the cartoon. People, you know, everybody threw the big fit about the Seth Kearsley pilot.
Yeah.
This happened
Which neither of us have seen that. That is illegal.
Hey, he put it on YouTube. And it was, we did not download it. We did not break any laws. It was up there.
Yeah, wait, I'm sorry, to stop down, to tangent off of the tangent. I just want to say, like, this is like a blind object, but like there has been, you know, discussion about like leaking nowadays with like the missing link stuff. I'm anti-leaking. I don't like leaks.
You won't even
in any kind of... Yeah, I keep it all bottled up. I'm dying on the inside. I don't want to see the work that somebody's not done creating until they're ready for it to be out there. And especially for people to leak it and to potentially monetize that, I find despicable. Like it really, I think it's so rotten. I've seen this false equivalency of like, well, like people watch the Kingdom Hearts pilot animatic, but yeah, because the guy, the guy that made it put it out there. It's not like the Missing Link people are leaking the Missing Link stuff. You know, Seth Kearsley was like, hey, they didn't let me put out this thing that I worked on 20 years ago. Here it is, the guy who worked on it. Like, right? Is that not so stupid to say like, oh, it's just as bad that you looked at and talked about the pilot? Completely different things.
I'm just an objective observer. I
Fair enough.
I mean, I agree. I think. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna talk about leaks now. I agree with you. I think that especially for things that are still in development, it's not great. Fuck. Now I have another story that I have to tell. Great. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
When things are getting worked on actively and there's like a plan on like reveals and releases and whatever, like I'm not really much of a fan of leaks. I do think that there is a little bit of pearl clutching in regards to the culture of it all, because I do think that for some people, like they really don't, unless they have like the parameters kind of spelled out for them, they're really going to be thinking about the ethics of it when we do glorify that within the culture. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, the conversation needs to happen. Maybe we shouldn't come down on people so hard for being not celebratory, but like into them or whatever. But like, I agree, especially when they're obtained like illegally.
Right.
Not a
and
huge
there's like
fan.
personal data involved with a game like Missing Link. Yeah.
So a couple years ago, Kingdom Hearts 3 notoriously had a leak where a bunch of development screenshots just kind of appeared of the Monsters, Inc. world. And at first, people, this was before it was announced, people thought that they were fake because, you know, it wasn't as polished. And, you know, like people were like, oh, well, this doesn't happen with Kingdom Hearts. Like, surely this is a fake. And at the time I was, you know, writing for Cage Insider, and, you know, we talked about it. We're like, these are probably fake, whatever. Someone on the Cage Insider forums was like, no, they're not fake. In fact, here are more, and here's how I got them. And Cage Insider became like the repository for these leaks. And we had relationships with Disney and Square, and we were like, no, you. And so suddenly that hit the internet, and everybody's like, Cage Insider leaks, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3. And it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And we weren't even really sure like the validity of it. But I guess what had happened was that there was I think Square was working with a third party to create assets for the game, and they were using like an FTP, like file transfer system. And that was not super, like it wasn't secure. So when people found it, they were posting what was being shared. And I like, you know, immediately I like, no one from Square Enix was responding. I, at that point, had interviewed Tasha Sonart, who was the Pixar Interactive consultant for Kingdom Hearts 3. And I was like, I don't know what else to say. This is happening. We don't know how to fix it. I just need it to be said to someone on the team, like, we had nothing to do with that. They're just posting it on the forums. You know, like, we're shutting it down. Like, we're trying to stop the person from posting anymore. Like, you know, this is what's going on. And, you know, they were like, we see what you're saying. And that was it. Yeah. Like, they were, like, they couldn't engage with us any more than that. But, you know, like, I totally get it. I'm not a huge fan of it. But I also, like, again, like, I don't think we need to come down hard on people who are like, hey, I found something in my files. Like, if people start data mining things that have already come out, like...
That's... Right. I'm not trying to, like, condemn anybody. I just don't like the false equivalency of, like, comparing apples to oranges with, you know, what is more or less okay than the other. Like, to me, it's obvious. And I would just, like, as, you know, just this is personally, like, I would just not want to be spoiled on anything. Like, I want to experience it for myself. So that's just, like, my own opinion on it.
I'll also say, though, like, I do think there is a little hypocrisy with the Kingdom Hearts 3 data mining that happened a while ago from the demo build. Because, like, that was never supposed to end up in a private citizen's hands. Like, that build... You know, like, I actually do think that, like, there is some legitimate equivacy there. But regardless...
Which I can't even comment on because I didn't engage with any of that either. So I don't even know. Like, I know nothing of it.
And again, I'm not coming down on anybody. I don't even remember like how that hit the internet and who talked about it. I know I talked about it because there were things in there that were interesting, and I don't think it's as bad as what's going on with Missing Link. But I do think that, like, you know, in this community, like, no one's hands are clean because there is discourse.
Sure.
So, like, you know, just do your best and try to be thoughtful of what other people put into it. But
just think about if you were working on something really hard and someone got a hold of it and you're not done with it yet.
Yeah.
And they put it out there. That sucks. It sucks. It's just a human to human thing.
And Square Enix is retaliatory. Like, they will change their plans based on what happens.
Yeah. So, like, don't mess with we're on a track here. Don't derail the train.
Yeah. Speaking of derailing,
yeah.
So anyway, the Seth Kearsley thing. Seth Kearsley is an animator. He's still alive, and I believe he still animates. But he was pretty prominently known in the early 2000s. He directed the Adam Sandler movie 8 Crazy Nights. He's worked on a bunch of shows. He worked on Bob's Burgers. Like, he's still around. He's still doing things. And he had been tapped by Disney to do a pilot for a potential Kingdom Hearts cartoon in the early 2000s. 2004, I believe is when it was, 2003, 2004. And he did an animatic. He got a bunch of the original voice actors back for it, with the exception of Haley Joel Osment. But like Hayden Panettiere was in it, David Gallagher was in it, Susan Blakesley, everybody that had, they were in it. And it didn't come to pass. And I interviewed the guy, and he was like, yeah, I think that they just were afraid of pissing off Square Enix at that point in their relationship.
Right.
Because Square wasn't involved with it at all.
Yeah, and it was very early days, too, obviously.
As I was doing the interview, I'm going to be very vague about this, but it did happen, and you're just going to have to trust me. I got a message from Japan that basically was like, hey, we don't know what he's talking about. There's never been a Kingdom Hearts cartoon. This guy is lying, and he's, chasing clout. And I was
I did not know.
I was like, listen, this did happen. Here's all of the proof that I have to say that Disney has tried, not just with Seth Kearsley. I know of 3 separate attempts of them. Like, this isn't just like, oh, there's a Disney Plus show. No, in the early 2000s, I know of 3 separate attempts from 3 different directors and screenwriters to get a Disney cartoon, Kingdom Hearts, off the ground. And I was like, this is something that they explored. So I believe that Nomura just didn't know that this happened until it hit the internet. And that is... That's the thing. And also, like, Disney gets a lot of flack for, like, Sora and Smash, right? For years, the conspiracy theory was Disney is not letting Sora go to Smash. And then... When it finally happened, Nomura was like, yeah, Disney told me to do it. And I said, no, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then he did.
Nomura, he's like, he's tough. He's tough on it. You got to go through dad to get these things.
I don't even remember. Oh, right. Nomura, his relationship with Kingdom Hearts and Disney. So it's weird. I've never seen the most powerful corporation, like, bow so much to like a middle-aged
55-year-old
Japanese guy. Yeah. Like, okay, cool. He is very intimidating though. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Well,
don't fuck with him.
We've talked for 40 minutes, which by the way is the length of a normal episode of No Sad Face.
Time to get into things we like about Birth by Sleep.
Oh, I don't know where my phone is. It must have.
I can use mine. Do you want
to do it? Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll set the timer.
Sure, that'd be great. Do you want to go first on things that we like about Birth by Sleep? Or
I feel like I went first the last 2 times, so just for the sake of variety.
Yeah. Just let me know when you're going, and I'll go.
And go.
Okay. My favorite thing about Birth by Sleep is blank points.
So good.
Blank points is the secret ending that you unlock in Birth by Sleep when you do some things that I don't even remember, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. That's not relevant. The important thing about Birth by Sleep is that it's a prequel, but it's also, I feel like it is the culmination of every other plot point in the game coming to a crescendo. Because, it's not just the Birth by Sleep characters that have their story, which the main game is about. But Blank Points really did this thing where it said, hey, this is a button. We're putting a button on all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, everything that we'd had about the games had been bittersweet or about loss. Yep. And, the main stories of Sora, Riku, and Kairi getting separated and finding their way back together again, that is, a through line. But then you start looking at, all these other characters that get affected by this single person. If you hear a plane in the background, I apologize. By, Xehanort and his machinations and his bad decisions. Like I talk about, I had mentioned earlier that the Birth by Sleep launch trailer basically spoiled everything. And in this instance, I'm glad that it did, and I'll tell you why. Because the Birth by Sleep launch trailer had a good chunk of the Blank Points monologue in it. And, it had been translated, so I knew what was going on. Like, I knew what those lines meant. Mm-hmm. And so when Blank Points hit the internet, I watched it. Aqua comes up and she talks to Ansem, and the monologue starts. And, I understand what he's saying, more or less, because a lot of it had been translated. But then, I also know a little bit of Japanese, not a whole lot, but like enough to get by in this particular instance. So he does his monologue, and then Aqua says, what is this boy's name? And then, Ansem says his name is. And then it cuts. And then, there's this screen that says all the pieces lie where they fell. And this was the part that I didn't expect. This was the part that I wasn't thinking about. I knew that some way, somehow, it was all going to come back to the main plot. But the way that this unfolded was really beautiful. Because then it cuts to Twilight Town. Naminé is drawing. And I immediately start bawling. Because Naminé is my first favorite character in Kingdom Hearts. Mm-hmm. I talked, I think, a little bit, at least in the Shade of Memories episode, about how much I love Naminé. And I always kind of felt like the Nobodies and 2 got a bad hand. Like,
terrible hand.
Sure, they recompleted, and a lot of people say that that's good enough. A lot of people say that all the characters that met their end should not come back. A lot of people are like, well, it's clear in 2 that they were just meant to fuse and go back to who they were, and that's the point of it. And
I've always been
no. I'm sitting over here like, no. Like the
identity of the series has never been that, like, it's never been coded that way,
No, like the whole thing of like you exist, and you can exist in multitudes, and all those multitudes have a right to come to the forefront. And if you want to break away from who you were and live as a different existence in that way, as long as you see yourself that way, that is the truth. And so,
and that goes back to our conversation that we had in the Days episode. Seeing is believing.
Yes. That is the theme of Kingdom Hearts. If you missed it, I'm sorry, but here it is being spelled out for you, right? So Naminé's drawing, and she draws Sora, and she says his name. And immediately I'm like, oh my God, his name is Sora. Yeah. And then, cut to Roxas, slow transition, Roxas, Axel, Xion. They're eating ice cream. And this is like the first time that, like, there really hasn't been a lot of room for Xion to get acknowledgement outside of Days. Yeah. And, why would there be? Like, she's gone, no one remembers her in canon.
Right.
And so, like, a lot of people thought, like, well, she's just never going to get referred to again. And I'm not a huge Xion fan. I've already talked about that at length. But, when the camera did that pan to her, it was like, oh, okay. So this is, like, the story is making good on its premise.
Right.
Like, Roxas and Xion are alive, in a sense. They are the people that are waiting to be born again. And then, with Terra, and then Aqua is crying. And for me, that premise of, like, empathy and compassion is going to save the day is, like, a very beautiful premise. Like,
I love it.
They know that the second that Sora finds out about them, he won't stop until they're fine.
Yeah, he will not rest.
Which that's what happens.
Yep.
And I also think it's really beautiful that they are all looking at the sky when they say Sora, because, Sora means sky.
One sky, one destiny, that too.
I also think that it's also really, really beautiful that Aqua is crying and that she's like cognizant of what's going on, because for her, it's not just, like there's someone out there who's going to save us. It's, oh my God, I was so worried about this little kid when I met him, because I sensed the potential that he could be a Keyblade bearer. Like I could have been his master. I could have trained him, but I chose to protect him from the burden of responsibility because I think it's too much. I just want him to be a good friend to Riku. I want him to stand by Riku because Riku's the one who's chosen, and he's going to need support and friendship without the weight of the Keyblade.
Yep.
I want this kid to stay pure and remain calm and not have to deal with the minutia or the politics or all of it. And lo and behold, not only is Sora saving everybody, he's made good on his promise to Aqua 100-fold. Like, he has become the boy that she wanted him to be, pure, untainted by darkness, willing to help his friends, but he also still managed to get a Keyblade.
Yep.
He broke the cycle. He broke the cycle, and he's coming to save them, and that is why she's crying.
I'm getting goosebumps, dude. I'm getting goosebumps. You're just describing blank points to me. I'm right there again. It's so beautiful.
And it's telling us, like, I know that you were upset about Days. I know that you're upset about the ending of Birth by Sleep. I know that you're upset about the ending of 2. This is not the end. Like, all the pieces lie where they fell, but they're waiting for him.
Right.
And it's going to happen. And it's going to come. And this is why these games had to happen, because Kingdom Hearts 3 needed a great premise. And the premise is Sora has to save the people who are broken and disconnected and are connected to him. Like, it's not his fault.
No, he's just a common denominator.
But, right. Like, so he is responsible. Like, Xehanort's not going to fix it. And nobody else has the ability or the knowledge to do so.
Yeah, and Sid's not going to fix it, PJ.
And it's just beautiful. And then, he gets the letter. And at this point, you don't know what the letter says, but, like, you don't need to. It's told you what is going on. Like, Blank Points is like, he knows. He knows. Like, that's what I walked away with.
And it's so exciting. Like, it's beautiful, and it gets you excited for what's to come.
Yeah. And also, like, shout out, like, a very rare Hayden Panettiere cameo as Kairi.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was lovely. Because, like, we were afraid that she wouldn't come back. And then she did come back. And then she went away again.
And then she went away again.
But it was just nice. It was nice to see him back and to see him, like, in the current present. To have all of those answers, like, more or less resolved. Because Birth by Sleep also does a great job of, like, tying up plot points. And you leave Blank Points with, like, just the knowledge that everything is going to be okay, that what you believed in is true, that these people all have their own identities, that they have a right to exist, and Sora agrees, and he's aware of it, and he's going to make it right, And it's not just this bittersweet thing where it's like they exist within you, but they deserve to exist independently of you. And that is, it's so nice. Like, that's why the game is called Birth by Sleep. Like, the title is explaining itself. Like, they are currently in a position of death. Like, they are, in terms of the Kingdom Hearts world, they don't exist in the way that they should. They are sleeping in a state of sadness, of darkness, of non-existence. And through that ache, through that missing life, through that void existence, there is a light in the darkness. There is an end of the tunnel. There is a birth by that sleep, which is the point. That's the whole point.
It's something that was set up in KH1 like this. It's not only, so awesome and beautiful in its own right, but it's making good and continuing the premise of, that light in the darkness that can bring you out of whatever you're dealing with, whether it's, tragedy or non-existence or death. When Kairi saves Sora, like, that's that first instance we get of that, and this is a continuation of that thread. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is your time, but we could talk about it for days probably.
Well, another thing that I think is also really beautiful about that scene, though, that I'll end on this point. Axel doesn't say Sora's name. all the other characters do, because Axel does not get saved by Sora. When
Yeah.
Axel recompletes his Lee, it's independent of anything that Sora did.
God,
I mean,
yeah, I never even thought of that.
You could argue that because Sora defeated Xemnas, Lee was able to recomplete because the Kingdom Hearts was destroyed. But regardless, like, Sora had a hand
direct
in everybody else getting saved. Which also, people get pissy about 3. They're like, Sora did all the... Like, yeah, he was going to. That was the entire point of Birth by Sleep.
That was the intent, yeah.
That was the entire point of Blank Points. They said, everybody that said Sora's name gets saved by Sora. That was the point. That was the point. Like, you can get mad about it. That's fine. Like, you don't have to like it.
But you should have been mad about it, 10 years ago.
It wasn't an ass pull. Like, this was always going to be the case.
Yeah.
And it gets paid off. And I'm happy for it.
And I love it. I love it too. God, what a great fucking scene. I mean, it's so... And we didn't even talk about, like, just, like, the cinematography of it. Like, it's just...
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
And the music, like, oh.
Yep. Oh, God.
Oh, the little arpeggio, like, what happened, like, the keys when Domine's drawing and the keys are just falling over. Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to shut up about Blank Points now. Because you have your thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Are you gonna time yourself?
Yeah, I'll just get off to the races here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bringing back something I've already brought for show and tell, PJ, because I think my favorite part of Birth by Sleep is the fucking middle when you go to Radiant Garden.
Really?
I love it. Do you not?
You complain about it so much.
What are you talking about?
The Aqua line, where you're like,
the Aqua line,
which I think is a totally unfair thing. But this is your good moment. This is your good moment. So I'm gonna.
What moment are you talking about?
I've been to the same worlds as you, and I've seen what you've done.
I don't like that little
so
bit.
Close to the darkness. It's so stupid.
I don't like that little bit.
Go on.
Okay, no. Tell me your beef with it.
I don't understand why you don't, like, you're so adamantly against it.
I just think that, okay, well, to plug another creator here, and I talked about this on my stream last night.
You can reclaim your time later, by the way. I'm not gonna.
I don't care. I don't need all of it anyway. I yield my time to Yo Dizzle, who made an excellent video that took a look at the bad quotes bracket that I did with Kiwi back last year. And Yo Dizzle went through and looked at the dialogue and compared it to the original Japanese. And they looked at whether or not the meaning, the intent was different between versions. And that Aqua line comes off a lot less accusatory and a lot more hesitant, less willing to cast judgment on Terra in Japanese. The reason I don't like that one particular line in this sea of good that is BBS Radiant Garden is that I don't think Aqua really has that much reason to believe that Terra's done anything wrong by that point. And I don't know why she's trusting someone like Maleficent over Terra. I'm not saying it's like a character indictment. I just think, like, writing wise, it doesn't really make sense that Aqua would be, like, so suspicious and accusatory toward Terra when
Terra
like
hasn't
one of the worlds
defended himself. Like, Terra.
No, that's fair, but again, I do think that's a failure of BBS's writing in spots, is that they treat Terra like he's this monster. I don't know why Terra buys into that. It doesn't really make sense to me. Like, why does he think that he stole Aurora's heart? He didn't. Maleficent mind controlled him, or like took advantage of the darkness in his heart, whatever.
But even so, like, it is his darkness, and also, like, Nomura says that Xehanort actually took Aurora's heart, and that was like a whole setup, but we can get in whatever.
Right.
The point of the matter, though, is that, like, without that context, just what the characters know, it doesn't really matter what else he's done in the other worlds in this instance, because stealing someone's heart is horrifying. Like,
no, I agree. I'm just saying, like, why, to your point, why doesn't Terra say anything? Like, I guess it's as much on the Aqua line as it is on the lack of response from Terra that is, like, annoying and strange to me. Again, in a sea of things that I really like about this visit to Radiant Garden.
So go on with what you like.
Yeah, so, no, but I don't want to cut you off or seem defensive. Like, if you want to push back on it. Okay, all right.
I think it's dumb. Go on.
fair enough. So yeah, I don't know, like, I think to a degree Radiant Garden is another exercise in fan service. So in another way, it's like I'm bringing the point that I brought to the Days episode. But I think it really makes good on the idea of we have this game set 10 years prior to KH1, so let's see some cool, 10 years prior to KH1 shit that you really don't get up until that Radiant Garden point. I mean, you get to see like the princesses in their own worlds, but even that's all operating on like their own different, timelines. Like Disney time moves differently than original world time. But finally we get to Radiant Garden. We get to see things like Aqua meeting young Kyrie and the accidental bequeathing ceremony that takes place there. We have baby Enzo showing up. When Braig popped up in Terra's visit, I was just like ready to run through a brick wall. I was just so ecstatic because I was always a big Xigbar guy, and to see this guy show up and to be given like, an actual role of consequence as opposed to like this sort of, I guess, intentionally a mysterious role that he was given in KH2, getting to see him like be in the weeds with Xehanort and have a hand and all this shit that comes to pass in the Keyblade graveyard. Having that all set up here with the fake kidnapping plot was so fun and funny, to be honest. And then, of course, my favorite, and this is my favorite Kingdom Hearts scene, Blank Points is my second. Honestly, like, Blank Points is more artful and more important to the entire franchise, but I love the scene memorized when Ven meets Leoniza in the town square. It's because I'm a big Axel guy. I've loved Axel ever since Chain of Memories, and you could argue that he's been on diminishing returns since Dream Drop Distance. But getting to see him just like explain his life philosophy to this person that he just met is so like quintessential Axel, quintessential Kingdom Hearts. It really speaks to me just as a human being, the idea of what we leave behind and our legacies and how we're remembered. Axel or Lee at this point is just making it a point to be remembered by all who he meets. And I find it so beautiful and so touching. And I love getting to see the banter between Lee and Isa before they have their divorce. And this is all happening with Ven, which is a character that I don't even tend to really care about that much. But when you tie him back into, the sort of dramatic irony that we have about Roxas and how Roxas and Axel are going to be such good friends, 11 years later or 10 years later, it adds another layer to that scene. I just love it so much, PJ.
I'm nodding. I agree.
You're nodding.
No,
Yeah.
I think that part's great. I think that the whole sequence for all three of those characters,
Yeah.
the Aqua and Kyrie stuff is very cute. Catherine Beaumont, who is the original voice of Alice, plays Kyrie's grandma, and so that's also very sweet.
Getting the story again from KH1, but voiced this time because it was just text in the library back in KH1.
Yeah, all very sweet. The stuff with the Enzo I think is very interesting, and the apprentices, and seeing Mickey and
I forgot
stuff
about
is great.
I forgot about Alias and Dylan. How could I forget?
I mean, they were quick,
And
but they were
Evan's
good.
there.
Evan's great.
Yeah.
Just seeing Radiant Garden in its glory is also really
like the
cool.
heyday, like this is what everyone's been talking about. Like this is what they're trying to build back up to in KH2. We just see the process. We see the decrepit castle in 1, the rebuilding process in 2, and here is the nation at the height of its power and glory. Even the field music really imparts that. Like it's so grand and powerful. Like I've talked to Kiwi about this too. Like if there was a capital of the KH universe, like it would be Radiant Garden. Like they are at it's the head of the original KH government.
I think in Japanese, the term that's used is capital of light.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think
that's cool.
That's like how that translates.
Capital of light. That's sick.
Like I think Xehanort calls it the capital of light.
And I guess I've. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, in the Japanese, that's
okay. That's what Xehanort calls it.
I think.
So it's not the literal name. It's just sort of like a term,
I think in English it's translated to like a world of light or something like that.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't remember what he says, but I think in Japanese, like the literal translation is capital of
I see.
light.
Love that. I've spoken a lot about like the cameos and the characters that were existing prior to BBS, but like I do think it's a really good outing for just the relationship between Terra, Aqua, and Ven, which is weak throughout the game. That's one of my criticisms of the game is that compared to the Days Trio and even SRK, which is also not up to the standards that I would like to see it at. Terra, Aqua, and Ven, like we're told that they're friends. I think it's by virtue of not getting a ton of time with them in the Land of Departure and just like not getting to see their day to day a bit more. We get some flashbacks here and there, but like I'm just not really fully buying what they're selling me. Like it's a lot of telling and not showing, I guess. But at least in this Radiant Garden midway point of the game, like, we get to see them all join up together. Gets a little fatiguing having to do the Trinity armor fight 3 times and getting to, getting or having to see that scene 3 times. But it is cool how it's shot from like different angles depending on who you're playing as, and obviously it cuts off earlier or later depending on your playable character. But, their relationship gets to be put on display there a bit more substantially. The tension grows there. It kind of reminds me of, like, Sora meeting up with with Riku in Monstro in KH1. That's, like, that game's middle point, which is obviously, less iconic and well-defined and well-remembered. But it is, like, the beginning of that sort of breakdown of a friendship that I think BBS sort of follows in that mold. I'm running out of time here, but
No,
I think the TVA stuff is also fantastic.
Yeah, I think that it's one of the rare moments where we see all 3 of them at once in the game, which is, which is nice.
Like, Terra and Aqua will pass by each other in Castle of Dreams, but yeah, in terms of the 3, I think it's Lane of Departure, Radiant Garden, Keyblade Graveyard.
Yeah, I also like that it harkens back to the midpoints of both 1 and 2, because there is, the guard armor, opposite armor of it all.
Yeah,
with the Trinity armor, but also like it is reminiscent of the Radiant Garden, Thousand Heartless Battle. Like it's a good combo of both, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I do wish that we had gotten to see the Final Fantasy crew when they were younger.
That always felt like such a lame excuse that, like, oh, there's too much going on. What do you mean there's too much going on? Like, I think you just don't want to draw them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, how is there too much going on? Like, we have Ienzo and the other, Lee and Alias, like, they're all de-aged or whatever.
We didn't need it, I guess, but you know what else we didn't need?
We didn't need it.
Merlin and the Winnie the Pooh command board.
Yeah, that's true. That was my time officially, but to that point, like, just have them in the background even, or even like in the credits, when like Lee and Isa get booted out of the castle, like, just have them like kind of hanging out at the corner, like young Yuffie and Leon. I just think that, they didn't want to draw. Maybe the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. That's fine. But it would have been neat.
Yeah, if we had NPCs, I'm sure.
Yeah. Going back and putting NPCs in like every game back to 1, that'd be kind of a neat little mod project.
Modders, quit trying to make games Kingdom Hearts 2 and make other games, full.
Make other games KH3. Exactly.
Make other games KH3, exactly. Let's put in some NPCs. Let's give some, some different outfits to some characters. Like, let's have some fun.
Come on.
Let's invite more people to the party.
I would do it, but I'm not talented.
Yeah, me
I'm
neither.
the ideas guy.
Yeah, I'll design their outfits.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you're talented. What the fuck are you saying?
I mean, I can't, like, model.
You can't mod stuff, but you can draw things.
Sure.
You can put stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to assemble a team.
Isn't that what Requiem was for?
I guess.
I guess we don't really have any, like, character modelers in Requiem.
I guess not, no. Requiem, for the record, is a Discord server that was formed around David Russell's Music of Kingdom Hearts series.
Right, Music of Kingdom Hearts
that's it. No, David's fantastic. David's going to be listening to this, so love you, David.
Yeah, he'll be editing. And I'm sure he'll put the biggest, fattest picture of himself in the middle of the phone.
In the gummy phone, yeah. That was all very nice. Yeah.
Hater.
Get our hater gloves on.
Hateration in the stancery.
Haterade. Yeah. You first? Me first?
I went first for the good. I don't know if that has any impact on the bad.
I will go.
Though.
I will go.
Okay. Oh God, please.
So, in place of the usual Coliseum Cups, Birth by Sleep has this world called the Mirage Arena. Ooh. Sounds really cool, right, PJ?
Yeah.
Imagine all the stuff that could happen in a place as mysterious as the Mirage Arena.
Anything.
The word Mirage really frees us from any guardrails whatsoever. You go in and you can just have it go any direction imaginable. If it's a Mirage, it never really happened. You get all the fun and the excitement of the gameplay experience, none of the pesky canon implications, no strings attached. And what do they do with this place, PJ?
What?
Nothing.
Oh my God.
Besides Monstro and the armor battles, which didn't even exist in the original release of the game on PSP, this place delivers nothing. You should be able to refight every boss in this place. After clearing the final episode, you should get to fight the bosses as characters who don't get to fight them in their story.
Damn.
And what do we get? 4 versions of the Iron Imprisoner. Congrats, you made the coolest sounding thing boring. The sky was the limit. Consequence was not an object. We could have fought Kefka, the Horned King, Shere Khan, Figment, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, fucking Grandma Willow from Pocahontas,
Oh my God.
Flubber, Roxas wielding 3 Keyblades. Fuck it. They could have done whatever they wanted. And they settled for less than the bare minimum.
Damn.
I went a little over, but...
You know what, though?
Yeah.
I was like, should I talk about how much I don't like the Mirage Arena?
You're gonna make it your thing?
Because I don't like it.
I think the aesthetic and the music is really cool, but in terms of like the potential, it's brutal.
Yeah, but like, I don't like things that just exist and
Me
they don't
neither.
like acknowledge it. Like,
Yeah,
it's like a weird thing. It's just like, oh, also there's just this fucking spaceship, and like they had to have a story in mind because
Laguna.
the boss of it was supposed to be Laguna from Final Fantasy VIII, and they cut
He was
him
double booked.
because of Dissidia.
Yeah, I talked about this in some video. Maybe it was the 1992 video or something. Maybe it was just the BBS world rankings. But yeah, it's like what his agent said he couldn't do both. I don't get it.
It didn't stop Cloud from appearing in everything in 2006.
Right.
Are
The
you
schedule's packed.
Are you kidding? And it's
Yeah.
it's not like we have an oversaturation of Laguna because he hasn't done
Right.
shit since 8. So
yeah,
like,
look at Laguna's Wikipedia page. There's a big drop off. It says like 1998 to present.
yeah, there's one fucking footnote on the page that says he was supposed to be in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, but was cut. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if they modeled him. I wonder if like if they went
Yeah.
as far as like designing him.
Wonder if he's got the Buzz and Woody KH2 rainbow glaze.
Damn.
I hope people get what I'm talking about. 'Cause
No, they're going to be like,
that
God,
was
does
just
everything
words.
have to
Those
be
are just
gay?
words. You've lost. look up Buzz and Woody KH2 models.
Yeah, but don't look up Rainbow Glaze.
Yeah, don't look at rainbow glaze.
You're welcome.
Save search on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Buzz and Woody have the Rainbow Glaze in 2. You know who has the Rainbow Glaze in Birth by Sleep, though, for real? Pleakley.
That's true.
Yeah, Pleakley was cut from Birth by Sleep, but his model remains.
Deep Space is a fine enough world, but that could have been a point for me. Maybe not the point of contention,
Yeah.
but like the lack of Lilo in the Lilo and Stitch world are just like several characters. That's a bummer. I talk about that a bit in my upcoming video, which might be out by the time this podcast is out, so I won't say much more. But
Well,
what do you hate, PJ?
you.
Oh, but I thought this was good.
No, I'm ready to talk about my thing that I hate if you're ready to start timing.
Yep. 1, 2, 3.
Cool. I don't fuck with the secret episode in Birth by Sleep Final
Ooh.
Mix. I'm just not a
Okay.
fan of it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it adds anything. You have Aqua going through the Dark Realm, which like is cool for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it's just walking around on like polyps. Like I'm not really a fan. It's just Aqua fighting Heartless. There's like no story significance. Like it doesn't feel like it's worthy to be like a secret episode. Like 0.2 did it right.
I love
like,
it.
you know, looking at the destroyed Disney worlds, like making your way through the darkness. But I don't love it. I don't love it. It breaks up the pacing. At that point, you would have already unlocked link points.
Mhm.
And like when you start it, they do that weird thing like, okay, you have closure on this game, but let's throw it back on a stupid little goof.
Yeah.
Let's throw it back on throw it back on the time that Aqua got stalked for
Yeah.
5 minutes in the Realm of Darkness. And then at the end of it, like your reward is like a vague teaser for what might have been a game.
Yeah.
We don't know. That never really happened.
The game that never was.
And it just like, yeah. The secret ending of Birth by Sleep is the only secret ending in the series that ends on a good note that makes its peace with the game. That is like, okay, this is some closure, and
Mhm.
the next round of games are getting set up. And then the secret episode just undoes it all, and for what? For what? So that you can see Aqua getting lost in a basement for a while? Like it's not fun. Like it's not.
The novelty wears
interesting.
off really quickly. You're at time. I let you go a little longer because I did.
Thanks.
Like you said, 0.2 really delivers on it, and then they go back to it being boring again in KH3, which granted, like
Well, they have to.
No, I know. It's just because the worlds aren't destroyed anymore.
The Disney worlds are gone.
Yeah.
And people are like, I want a game of Terra, Aqua, and Ven in the Dark Realm between Kingdom Hearts 3.
No, it would
you
suck
don't.
because that we would have to force another apocalypse, which fine, do it if it's going to be interesting, but you can't have that TVA thing without, a KH1 like scenario again.
Yeah.
So
Like, there's nothing there. I mean, granted, they could come up with it or whatever plot reason they wanted to put something there, and sure, fine, whatever. But as it stands right now, I have no reason to suspect that would be a fun hang.
No.
Like, there's nothing.
No, not
there's
at all.
Nothing about that.
It'd be great if it was called Kingdom Hearts Fun Hang, though. I think that'd be really fun.
That'd be great. That'd be really great. At least 0.2 paid it off a little bit.
Yeah.
But
no, it is really boring in Birth by Sleep. It's so very samey. Like, there's 3 areas. I think it's the lower, middle, and upper, and they might as well all just be one big blob. The Dark Hide fight at the end is pretty neat, I guess, but it's just kind of like, okay, a big Heartless. Why is this one in particular here? Like, are there a bunch of, like, big, not Shadow or Dark Ball or fluttering Heartless around and we just don't see them?
It's so stupid that you're getting chased by this thing with big red eyes and then it's like, it's a Heartless.
Yeah, they just wanted to do, like, a Predator type thing where you, like, have the infrared vision or whatever.
Yeah.
They were like, this would be cool. Let's make a reason to have that.
The speculation was like, what with red eyes? Is there an Unversed in the Realm of Darkness? What is that? No, it's a fucking Heartless.
Yeah, which usually have yellow eyes, right?
Yeah, they all have yellow. Well, 99.9% of them have yellow eyes. The red eye thing is an Unversed thing,
right?
Except in this one instance. Stupid, just stupid.
Yeah,
but I love Birth by Sleep outside.
Me too. It's great. It's I think I said this in episode 1 or 2. It's my number 4 game after the numbered. And again, in some ways, I think it exceeds KH2, especially in some spots, especially when it comes to like the pacing, which was my negative thing that I brought to that episode. I feel like getting stuff of consequence between Disney worlds or in the Disney worlds even happens a lot more often in Birth by Sleep than it does in 2 and even 3 to an extent. I mean, I think Birth by Sleep does a really good job at pacing things along.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really talk about it, but I think that I think the choice of the worlds is also a lot of fun. I think
Love
that
the world choices.
I think it also like it doesn't really capture Kingdom Hearts 1's atmosphere, but it does have that like really great sense of dread.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, in terms of like recapturing KH1, because obviously there's so many parallels. It sets it up from the beginning, like the very first scene of it being, Ven waking up and Aqua's giving Ven the hopeless sleepyhead. It's trying to definitely play on that nostalgia there. It is like the, I guess it's been 8 years since KH1, so not quite 10 years. That'll be Dream Drop. But I think especially with the Princess Worlds, it gets across that feeling of dread and like foreboding. And I guess it picks up again once you get to the end game, obviously, with all of the, original world stuff. But yeah, it's solid.
It's good.
Love it.
Well, David asked us to record a new outro. Because he says that the canned one is going to get old. Okay. All right. Well,
do you want me to?
Do you want to? I'm going to sit over here on my. I have a life size replica of Ven's sleepy chair.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna chill, and you take it from here, Pat.
Okay. Thank you for listening to another episode of No Sad Face. Where do you go from there?
If this is your first episode, welcome.
Yeah, and thank you so much. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like on the YouTube video, a review on your podcatcher of choice. Our release schedule, I believe, PJ, is every other Saturday, right?
Until it's not.
Until it's not. And if you want to learn more about the podcast and what we're up to, you can go to nosadface.com. It's got all of our links, my links, PJ's links, the fantastic artist Esper who works on this, and David who does our music. All of his stuff is there as well.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Oh, you know what? I'll give that a B+.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.